Before a hard drive can be used, it must be partitioned. This is automatically done when most operating systems like Windows Vista 7 or 8 is installed. There are different types of partitions such as primary, extended and logical. Most computers will only have one single hard drive with one single partition. However, there can be times when a second hard drive is required. This can be used for extra storage or used as a backup device. In this task, a second hard drive has been fitted. It can be connected through the PATA or SATA ports. If this is the case, then you can skip the next instruction that deals with installing a virtual hard drive. Select which of the virtual machines that will be used for the additional hard drive. In our example, it is Windows 8, but it will work with most operating systems such as Windows Vista and 7, etc. Once running, check File Explorer that only one hard drive exists and an optical drive. Now we shall install a second hard drive to the virtual machine. Shut the computer down, then highlight the virtual machine you will be using. Click on Settings, then Storage. Click on the second controller. In our example, it is labelled as Controller SATA to highlight it. To the right of this, two new icons will appear. Click on the far right one that is labelled as Add Hard Disk. Now you'll be given an option to create a new disk, choose an existing disk and cancel. Click on Create New Disk. Click on Next when prompted with Hard Drive File Type and leave this as the default settings of VDI or Virtual Disk Image. Once again, click on Next and leave the default settings to Dynamic Allocated. Enter the name Spare Hard Drive 01 and change the size to 500 GB. Click on Create. Click on OK, then Start the guest. Single click on the File Explorer found on the taskbar when the desk has restarted. The first thing we should notice is that the newly connected second hard drive does not appear. In our example, only the C and D drive are available. We shall see the effects on the File Explorer as we create the partition. Leave this window open, then right-click on Start. From the drop-down menu, click on Disk Management. If you're using a new hard drive that has never been initialized before, as in our example, then this message will appear. Click on OK to the default settings MBR. Then maximize the window. Before continuing, we should familiarize ourselves with the Disk Management console. In the top part of the console, we can find the one single drive listed as Drive C. Under this drive is listed the System Reserve. This is a work area for Windows and is normally protected, and C is where we install all our programs, applications and data. Further down we can see Disk 0. This is split into two parts, once again System Reserved and C. So Disk 0 is just the one single drive that has been split up into two. Just under Disk 0 it tells us that there is a partition and the size is 25 GB and the System Reserve is 350 MB NTF and C is 24.66 GB NTF. Notice the two blue bars over Disk 0. Now look at the bottom of the console. Blue means primary partition, and if we look we can see a description in both System Reserved and C. They are described as primary partitions. Just under Disk 0 is Disk 1. This is the new drive we fitted and we can see its size, 500 GB. It contains a black bar and once again we refer to the colours at the bottom. Black indicates unallocated, which basically means it has not been used. If it's the first time you have heard of these terms, don't worry if they are confusing at this stage. Partition is one of those topics that sneak up on you and suddenly it all falls into place. Let's proceed. We have to understand that the drive is described as unallocated. It means it cannot be used until it has been assigned certain properties. In this example, we shall create a 100% primary partition on the new drive. So we click on the black bar found on Disk 1. To select it, this should have become highlighted. From Action, found at the top menu, we click on All Tasks, then New Simple Volume. When the wizard starts, we click on Next. At this point we are prompted to enter the size in megabytes, but since we want to allocate all the drive space to one single partition, we just click on Next. Now we have the option to assign a drive letter. To keep things simple, we'll click on Next. The next option is to format the new partition. Format lays down tracks and sectors, so when we save data to the partition, it can be mapped. To save time, do not format the volume, then click on Next. The properties of the new partitions are displayed. Click on Finish to complete the process. We should have now returned to the Disk Management console, and after a short delay, notice how the bar that was black has now changed to blue, indicating that this is now a primary partition. Also notice that a new entry has appeared within the Disk Management console. Now if we check the File Explorer found on the taskbar, a new drive should have appeared. In our example, this is drive E. To recap, a hard drive was connected when we first checked the computer. Only the original drive appeared, drive C. We then created a primary partition using all of the allocated space. When the computer was checked again, a new drive letter had appeared called drive E. Deleting partitions is just as important as creating them, but be aware, deleting a partition will remove all the data and information on it. To delete the primary partition on the new disk, click on the Disk Management console or DMC found on the taskbar. Click on the blue bar found on Disk 1 to highlight it, then on Action found on the top menu. From the drop-down menu, click on All Tasks, then on Delete Volume. Confirm deletion. The bar has now returned back to black, indicating the partition has now been removed. If we now return to this PC, we will find that the extra hard drive has now disappeared. Don't be afraid to repeat this exercise, as all the actions are taking place within VirtualBox, so will not affect the host computer.